Hey, good morning, everyone, and thanks for being with us this morning for this Nucamp open house. We're excited to have you all on this webcast. We're going to spend about an hour together with myself, Karim Nagar. I'm Nucamp's CEO, and with us is Ludo Faraj. Hey, good morning, everyone, and thanks for being with us this morning. Oops, for this Nucamp that's open the house. One thing I need to take care of. To have you all on this webcast. So here we go. Sorry about that. Ludo is our Chief Product Officer and our Chief Learning Officer, and in a little while he'll take you through the details of our curriculum and a little bit more about what it's all about to be a web developer.
Hello, everyone.
I am going to start off with a presentation together with Ludo that will last about 30 minutes, and after that we'll have a Q&A. What's most interesting about these open houses is hearing your questions and interacting with you. You can actually post your questions as we go through the presentation using the chat box on YouTube, so don't hesitate to put your questions in there, and then we'll go through them after the presentation. So with that, let's get started. Well, first, just a little word about Nucamp. Nucamp is a very special coding bootcamp. We have a social mission, which is really to help everyone, every aspiring career shifter, as we like to call you guys, across the country to enter the digital economy. And the way we do this is by offering the most affordable, the most local and flexible option out there for a coding bootcamp. We started, let's move to the next slide, please. Thank you. By recognizing that there were other offerings out there available to you, but not necessarily for everyone. So you have online boot camps that are very common, that are very flexible because you can go through them from your home. They're easily accessible no matter where you live. They're actually very cheap. Sometimes they're even free. The challenge is that it's really difficult to complete an online bootcamp on your own with no support. We see that the completion rates are extremely low, usually around 3%. And it's really about the lack of support and collaboration, but also motivation network to go through the bootcamp. And so the other option out there until recently was really traditional bootcamps. Those traditional bootcamps can be a great solution if you can afford to stop working and go to a full-time program. If you can actually afford the tuition, which is really pretty expensive, usually pretty expensive. It's on average $12,000. And then most importantly, they're really present only in a few cities, right? So you have to be living in a big city where they are available. To be able to go through those programs. But I mean, if you can afford it, if you're where they are available, they're a great solution. They are full-time, it's very immersive, and so you can be focused on that. But we recognize that for a lot of people, that's just not an option. And so that's where Nucamp comes in with a hybrid solution that basically allows you to go through the program while you continue to work with a very flexible program during the week where you learn at your pace. Where you're actually grouped in really small groups of students, so you have the right level of attention and the support to succeed. You also are able to do this in your hometown. That's a really important piece of our offering. It's really community-based, in person, wherever we can, in video conference with your instructor, but with students from your community where there's smaller demand. And most importantly, it's affordable. Our programs are below $2,000 for the full stack program in the early bird pricing. And we make it even easier by offering by default a monthly payment plan. So it really ends up being $350 per month, basically. So a little more about just where we come from. We started in 2017 in Washington State, and we started with this city of Tacoma, which was underserved compared to Seattle. We expanded in the state, and then from there expanded through the US. And today we have over 1,500 unique students across the US. We serve 25 cities, 30 or 35 now, close to 35 physically, and then all other communities across the US via video conference. We've ran 200 boot camps, and we have over 150 instructors that are working with us in those different locations. And we'll talk a little bit more about student satisfaction, but I encourage you to go and check out course report or switch up to hear a little more about what students have to say about us. All right, so right now is a very peculiar time, tough times for many people, and we recognize that, and we've tried to adapt. For some people, it's an opportunity to actually have a bit more time, perhaps to start a boot camp, but quite frankly, for a lot of people, it's just tough times financially. And so, we try again with our affordable program to make it easier for people to consider our boot camp. But we've also had to adapt operationally. So right now we are delivering all of our boot camps online via video conference on Saturdays. And we are monitoring closely the situation so that we are able to go back to in-presence, because we know that that's what really people want in many cases when it's safe to do so. But our current way of working online is actually something we've been delivering now for over 2 years, because there was always a portion of our students wanting to take the program online. So it's something we have experience with. It's still very much the same experience. So small groups of 12, no more than 12 students per class, a dedicated instructor. We group classmates per geography so that they can basically collaborate in their community. And then what we've added is the ability to pause or retake a class at any time free of charge during this COVID-19 situation. Again, that comes just from the feedback we've received. We have some students that have basically had trouble working at home with their kids around them, that had to pause. We have some essential workers that just had to go to work a lot more, couldn't dedicate the time. So again, we wanted to make it easy for everyone. And so if you start your boot camp right now and after a month, for some reason you need to pause, you can do that at no cost. Or if you feel you need to retake a class because you weren't able to dedicate as much time, you can do that as well at no cost. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we will work with you to transition back to in-person workshops when the time is right. And that will always be on a voluntary basis. So if at any point you prefer to continue online, of course, you'll be able to do so as well. All right, so a little bit more about the boot camps themselves. We have 3 types of boot camps. We have an introductory boot camp, which is what we call our web development fundamentals. It's 4 weeks, and it's really to allow people that have no background in coding to get a feel for what coding is all about, understand if that's something they would like, try to project themselves and see if that's a career they could be excited about. And that's basically a good platform to head into one of our 2 advanced boot camps. We have our front-end and mobile development boot camp, which is 17 weeks, and our full stack, which is 22 weeks. It actually includes front-end and adds back-end to it. And those are the boot camps that really prepare you for a job. So out of those 2 boot camps, you'll be in a position to apply to a junior developer position and basically transition into this industry. And Ludo, in a little while, will tell you a little bit more about the actual detailed content and the curriculum and why we teach that curriculum. All right, so in terms of format, the format is very straightforward. From Sunday to Friday, you work at your own pace, working on video lectures, on coding exercises. You will work also on your project portfolio, which we'll talk about in a minute. And you do that with the support of your instructor online. So you don't have any set times, but your instructor, if you're stuck on an exercise or you don't understand something, is available through chat, through email, to help you out and make sure that you can go through this week and be prepared for really what's the most important part of the week, which is our Saturday morning workshop. This is an instructor-led workshop. It lasts 4 hours. It starts with a live recap of what you have learned during the week and making sure you understand all the concepts. And then you go through an assignment. And so this assignment, again, will be either on your own or in small groups, and will be supported, facilitated, and led by the instructor. And it happens either in person, obviously not these days, or in video conference. Again, in both cases, it's the same format. And then once you complete this and you submit your assignment and you're wrapped up this week, the new week opens up and you continue on your journey. And so that's really the way students stay motivated and make sure they continue to progress through the curriculum week after week. All right. So again, these days it's not as important. But if you start today, it's very likely you will transition to an in-person experience at some point. We all hope that, at least. And so we really choose the workshop locations carefully. We partner with co-working spaces that can provide us with a lot of really nice open space, pleasant space on the weekend at affordable rates that we can pass on to you. What's really important is that those are actually communities where you'll find usually other developers. There are also co-working spaces that tend to align with us in terms of social mission. So they're a good way also to get a feel for what your life could be as a software developer and what kind of environment and community you could be part of as you transition into that industry. All right, and then I saved the best for last. The most important part really of Nucamp is our instructors. We have amazing instructors that have a few things in common, a lot of diversity in our instructor group, but a few important key things they have in common. The first is that they are all active industry practitioners. They're not teachers, by nature. They are usually working in the industry either as software developers in a big company, in a startup, or they can be independent consultants providing web development for customers. But they are very hands-on. They actually have a full-time job or a part-time job, and they teach at Nucamp in addition to that, just because they're excited about coding, they want to give back and sort of contribute to their community. So you will get a very hands-on type of education, coding education, that's relevant in the job market. And we think that's really important. The second thing they have in common, again, is that they're really passionate and excited to give back. This is not their full-time job. They do that above and beyond their regular job. And you'll see that, that excitement is very, very visible when you are with them. They're also really available. Usually they help a lot towards the end of the boot camps in connecting with the local community and just, giving you an access, if you like, in the software development community and giving you tips about how to transition job-wise into that industry. They're local. That's the other really important piece, right? So even, when we are in a video conference, we try to pair with instructors that are local. And obviously, when we go back to the in-person format, it's an opportunity to network locally, to get introduced locally. And then finally, what's interesting is that they have very, very diverse backgrounds. Some have gone through traditional college education, computer science degrees, and are working in big firms. Others are actually graduates from boot camps, have gone through the same experience you've gone through, and are working sometimes in smaller companies, sometimes on their own. And so connecting with them, and by the way, you might be exposed to 2, 3, 4 or instructors in the course of your boot camp. Each class may have a different instructor. So you'll get those different experiences and networking opportunities. And again, it's really interesting to see the differences and sort of the type of opportunities you have out there. All right, so with that, I'm going to transition it over to Ludo, who's going to tell you a little bit more about what it is to be a web developer and talk to you about the curriculum.
Hello, everyone. And so obviously you are considering joining a bootcamp and potentially Nucamp with a goal in mind, which is getting into the world of coding. And so we get that question obviously very often. How do you become a web developer? How do we help deliver on that? One thing to know is that we are focusing on one language, which is JavaScript. And the reason is very simple. JavaScript has been the #1 coding language in the industry for over 5 years in a row. Even with the very first bootcamp, the 4 weeks bootcamp, we really start to teach you JavaScript there. And then the front end and full stack bootcamp really go into the great more depth around this language. Now, if you look at Indeed.com or ZipRecruiter, you'll see that the average salary for a junior web developer is $70,000. That's an average nationwide. That could go actually from 6-digit figures in New York or San Francisco to maybe $65,000 in other areas. We actually have several blog articles if you're interested in learning more about JavaScript, the industry, and how we prepare you. But obviously, you will be in great hands in learning JavaScript with us. Now, let me tell you about the curriculum a little bit more. You've seen Karim show the 3 main bootcamps that we have. And actually, those 3 bootcamps are really a set of 5 different stages of 5 different languages and courses. On the left-hand side, you see the 4 weeks bootcamp. That's really its own unit. It's the web development fundamentals course that gives you the introduction of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's really meant to prepare you to go onto the full stack and front end bootcamp. When you think about getting a job, really you should consider joining either the front end bootcamp or the full stack bootcamp. These are really the bootcamps that go into enough depth, that last long enough for you really to acquire all the skills. And so that's a question we get sometimes. Hey, can I just take the 4 weeks bootcamp and get a job out there? Well, the answer, unfortunately, is probably no. You'll have to really take that one if you're a beginner and then join the next ones to be ready for a job. Now, if I go into the next modules, again, still focusing on JavaScript, but what we start with is a JavaScript, we call it framework, called Bootstrap. And Bootstrap was created by Twitter several years ago. And what it does is really introduces you to creating websites and the look and feel of a website, and does it in a way that allows you to build a website that will look great on a big TV screen. Think, 160 inches wide, something huge, and still continue to look great without having to do much, actually. Taking down to, let's say, a monitor, and then taking down to a tablet, and then bring it the same website on a phone. That's called a responsive website. A website that you build once and can actually reorganize itself and the layout of the elements, depending on the screen size, depending if you're in landscape mode or depending if you're in a portrait mode. And so that's Bootstrap. And that's actually a great way to get started because it's very rewarding, very fast. You write a few pieces of code and then you see your website, reorganizing itself in different layouts. And that's really, students enjoy that. So it's a great amuse-bouche, we will say in French. The next one, React, is really the core of the learnings. That's where you take something that is, beautifully rendered, responsive, and add at that point in time all the business logic. That's where really your skills of a programmer are going to shine. it's also the most challenging one. React was created by Facebook a few years ago as well. It's become the #1 framework for JavaScript. And we're going to spend 5 weeks on this one. This will actually typically allow you to do things that any website will need, like allow a user to log in, allow a user to browse a shopping cart of products, allow a user to add a product to a shopping cart and then do a checkout. Or if you think about, more social apps, that will allow you to store a message or display a message thread, like Twitter and things like that. So that's really what React does. It allows your website to suddenly become dynamic and also be driven by data and processes. Now, imagine that you've done all that, it looks great on a website, and then almost magically you go into React Native, and what happens is you're packaging that website and it now becomes a mobile app. That's really impressive how actually it's accomplished, and students are pretty amazed by how smooth they can go from building a very powerful dynamic website and then really easily turn it into a mobile app. Now, when I say mobile app, I really do mean a mobile app. That means something that you can publish to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, something that your users will be able to download on their phone, something that you'll be able to monetize, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really the full continuum of building something that is responsive to something that is in the web to suddenly something that is on everybody's phone, available from a store, downloadable and all that. So you can see how at that point in time, you will really have learned everything that you need to know regarding building websites, making them beautiful, making them responsive, dynamic, and then also building a mobile app. That's actually the end of the Frontend Bootcamp. And if you stop there, you will be a junior front-end developer. If you're wondering what that is, you can check out on the web. There's a ton of job positions open for that type of profile. Now, typically people who stop there are people that are really passionate about, UI, user design, user experience, how it looks. If you're also interested in knowing how to, I would say, close the loop, how ultimately, the data that we've talked about, where is that going to live? If you're thinking about a catalog of products, if you're thinking about the preferences of your users, if you're thinking even about, managing transactions, payments, you'll have to go into what we call the back end. And that's what the last module on the right-hand side is about. And that's also part now of the full stack bootcamp, which really adds to front-end that final back-end piece. And that really tells you all about the server side, or how some people would call it the cloud side, which is you're going to learn about web servers, you're going to learn about databases, you're going to learn how you're going to store information in those servers, you're going to learn how to authenticate your users. So if you're here, you probably went to our website, nucamp.co, and you saw how you could log into our website using Google or Microsoft or Facebook, right? This is something that needs to be done on the server side. And so you will be able to learn that at that point. And so that's it, 3 bootcamps. One is a beginner one, an introduction. And then you will want to pick between front end or full stack, or actually don't pick at all. Like you could start with front end. And at the end of it, if you're still interested in continuing, you can actually upgrade to full stack. Now, what's very important in any coding bootcamp is not only the pedagogy, what we teach you, but it's how you apply that. And with our bootcamp, you'll have multiple ways to apply your knowledge. The very first one is every student works on what we call a learning project. So throughout the bootcamp, the 17 weeks bootcamp or the 22 weeks bootcamp, every week, you're going to add features and projects to your learning project. Everyone is the same. But then starting with week 2 in the bootcamp, we're going to ask you to start working on your own project. It's going to start with Bootstrap, and you're going to build a responsive website. And then once you get into React, you're going to upgrade your own project with, you know, the dynamic aspects, the managing the data and things like that. And then you can also work on a third project when you get into React Native and really bring your own product or project onto a mobile app. I must say that we encourage students to work on their personal project in a group, but it doesn't have to be in a group. Some people also prefer doing it on their own, and that's okay. We do offer support for groups to come together, and it's the preferred way because most of the time as a developer, you'll be exposed to working in a group, and so you learn those aspects of the jobs as well. Now, finally, if you're in the full stack bootcamp, you'll be able, obviously, to add the backend data into your personal project as well. But as you see, and we get the questions often, am I going to work on projects? Yes, you're going to work on multiple projects. And then you can also think about the weekly workshop session on a Saturday as actually a small project in itself. So I would say a total of 20, 25 projects that you'll be able to talk about. All right, now let's talk about the bootcamp schedule. You should know that we start a new cohort every 5 weeks. The next cohorts for full stack and front-end web development start on May 11th. As we mentioned, all bootcamps, even the ones that were supposed to be in person, are going to be conducted live online. And it's especially relevant for the Saturday workshop, where in the past students were really coming together in a central location. But for the month of May, all of those are going to be live online using our special method. You have a date that's quite important to remember. It's April 27th. Those bootcamps starting on May 11th will have and will keep their early bird tuition up to April 27th. So the full stack bootcamp, for example, is $1,765 right now and until April 27th. On April 28th, it will go back up to $2,000 something. So you really want to make sure that you do not miss that date, especially if you already know that you're going to attend. It'll be too bad to kind of miss the discount for that. The discount for the web development fundamentals is going to be a week later. So I guess early May. And you can see that the start date will be May 18th. Now, you can see also that we have additional dates in June for those bootcamps. We will communicate on how those bootcamps will be conducted when the times come. We're really waiting for recommendation from the federal government, from local governments to decide what we're going to go there. All right, so with that said, as Karim mentioned, we recommend that you check us out on Course Report and SwitchUp. The words of our students are probably worth thousands of our own. And what we thought we'll do is just share with you a small video. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds, so pretty quick, but it'll give you a sense of what students have to say about us. So please watch this video and we'll get back to you right after that. And then in about 5 minutes, we'll be answering your questions online. So please continue to ask them on the YouTube chat.
I wanted to look at a career opportunity that would be lucrative, and Nucamp kind of popped up, and I liked it a lot more than the other ones. I liked that it was more flexible. I didn't have to quit my current job.
They're basically very student friendly.
And our instructor is awesome, Renee, and she's just really helpful, really above and beyond.
She's very helpful, and every time when I have a question, I can ask her and she can respond. The careers basically has no end. You can grow and grow.
I was really excited. Yeah, in fact, I mean, if anything, I was wanting to do more.
But I really like the way it's been this hybrid learning process.
I love that. I love that it's during the week, because I wouldn't have been able to do it if I had to meet every single day. So I love that I can find childcare on Saturdays, and the rest of the week it's online. But yeah, sometimes I'm like doing my homework and I get all excited. I'm like, this could be my life. So it's kind of cool.
Okay, so thank you so much for watching this. What we wanted to share with you as well was the story of a few students that you can also check out on our alumni group in LinkedIn. So if you're curious about what our previous students are up to right now and their personal journey, you can check them out, LinkedIn school/Nucamp. I'll pick a few ones. Lindsay Gillespie started in Tacoma, moved to Dallas and got a job there. Aaron Goodrum was one of our first students, truck driver. We have actually a video interview of him as well on our website. Got a job in Seattle and actually came back to us helping us right now scheduling instructors. Nasir Bush, also a student in Spokane, and actually came back to us like a year later, wanting to give back to the community locally. And he's probably still our #1 instructor. So someone who's really getting rave reviews online about how good actually he cares about his students. So really a few examples. And as I said, you have more of those on our LinkedIn Nucamp page, and check out the alumni group and you'll see that. All right, so we are ready for your questions, Karim. I did answer a few at the very beginning.
I saw that. Yes, I saw that. Great.
If you want to get started, and then I'll pick up and continue to ask questions.
We'll alternate here. So Jaquetta is asking about the schedules for the workshops. She is working on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and was wondering whether we had workshops on other days. Unfortunately, right now we only offer workshops on Saturday mornings. And so, yeah, that's, you can tweak things a little bit with the time zones if that works for you. So you could start earlier or a little later based on where you're living. But right now, we're only delivering on Saturday morning, and we're evaluating other options, but it'll probably take us a little bit of time to get there. There's another question about the specific COVID-19 protocols in place. So we talked a little bit about it earlier, but right now, all of our classes are basically online. So they are regular online during the week, which means that you work at your own pace, go through the videos, the content, the assignments, the exercises, whenever you want to do it based on your schedule. And then on the weekend, it is live online, which means it's set hours with your instructor in video conference. So very much a classroom experience. And we have some really cool features to make sure we are able to deliver the same experience than a real classroom. So for example, when we start to work into projects and have to group you, there'll be breakout rooms for you to work in. And your instructor will be able to tour the breakout rooms. Your instructor is also able to tour your work and see how you are doing as you go through the workshop. But all of it is online, so you don't have to worry about COVID-19 for now. And then, as we mentioned as well, we will monitor very closely how we return to normal, and that will be very much based on what's going on locally. But in any case, it will be on a voluntary basis. So if for some reason in a community we are moving back to in person, but you don't feel ready for that, then you can definitely opt to continue online. We will have online classes continuing in any case, because some people just want to go through the bootcamp online only.
So there is a question from Sam Kang. Is there any technical interview or technical assessment for admission for the full stack web development? So the simple answer is no, it's an open enrollment, but we do ask that you are familiar and actually know the fundamentals of JavaScript and web development. For that, we actually point you to a test. It's 25 questions test. And we ask you to actually take it and validate that you, I think, reach a minimum of 85% good answers. It goes also to our philosophy as a coding bootcamp. We do not want to prevent anyone who has the passion and the will to try to become a web developer. We want to really invite that person and trust that person to actually make sure that they have the right fundamentals. And again, if they don't, it's okay. We have a 4 weeks bootcamp to provide them. And then really passing those fundamentals or passing that test should make you comfortable that you are ready to enroll either in the front-end bootcamp or the full stack bootcamp. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that test, the URL in the chat, and you can check it out. And again, we ask that you get a minimum of 85% correct answers before enrolling in the full stack bootcamp. And we do remind you of that as well as you enroll in it. So you shouldn't miss it.
All right, we have Brian asking if what happens if there aren't enough people registered, will the classes get canceled? Right now, absolutely not. So if you're registering now, because all of our classes are live online, we're able to group students. So your class will not be canceled. If we sometimes have to cancel classes when they are in person and we don't have enough students, but this is not the case for now.
There's a question from David Moore on working with a pretty simple Chromebook. And apparently you were able to download Visual Studio Code. That's a big feat. It's quite challenging, I know, for many to be able to do that. Would you recommend getting a new computer before starting? The general answer is yes. Now, if you're just taking the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript course, the fundamentals course, that will be just okay. But the minute you're considering joining the full stack or the front-end bootcamp, I would say, yes, we actually strongly recommend and actually do not support a Chromebook for those bootcamps.
And just a quick question on, is it possible to watch recordings of Saturday sessions, or is live attendance required? Live attendance is required. This is a boot camp. This is a immersive experience. We require that you be present at the workshops. We also do not support recording the workshops for various reasons, and so you have to be there. It's okay to possibly miss one workshop if you feel comfortable completing the assignment of the workshop on your own. As you go through the program, you'll probably get more comfortable and be in a position perhaps to complete a Saturday assignment without the direct support of the workshop. So if you have something exceptional, you can do that. But if you feel you're going to miss more than one workshop, per class, then we suggest you reschedule or retake this class, which, as I mentioned earlier, is free of charge, which is quite unique in the industry. All right, next question. Well, we have Nick that was just approved as a potential instructor. Glad you could join us to hear a little bit about the student side. To answer your question, yes, we will reach out to you as a class gets scheduled. So nothing for you to do there for now. So a question around what's the tech industry in Las Vegas? So I don't want to spend too much time on that in particular, but it's an opportunity for us to just highlight that we post some useful information about your particular community on your community page. So if you go to the Las Vegas page, you'll get information on companies out there, average salaries in the Las Vegas general area. And you'll also find out where our workshop location is. Some meetup groups as well if you want to start to get connected locally. So we help you with just the first steps in getting connected to your local community there.
Yeah. John. John is asking about skipping the web development and start with the front end. I will just say, take the test. You'll know after taking that test. I posted the URL. it will really give you the hint if you should be starting with the 4 weeks bootcamp versus starting directly with Frontend.
Hey, Torin is actually asking about projects from other students, which is great. You can definitely check those out on our YouTube channel. So if you're watching us right now, it shouldn't be very far. You will find a particular section that is basically called student projects. So you'll see some of the projects there. By the way, take the opportunity here to ask you to be kind enough to subscribe. That will help us get more visibility, and you'll get some updates on some of the cool things we're releasing.
Leah is asking about a drop-by date where students get a full or partial refund if they end up dropping the class in a certain time frame.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the...
Yeah, sure, I'll take that one. So we want to have a fair cancellation policy. So what happens is if you cancel within 5 days of registering and before the start of the bootcamp, it's a full refund, so 100%. If you cancel before the start of the bootcamp, but after more than 5 days of registering, we'll just retain the registration fee, which is just $30 for HTML and $100 for the full stack. So that's really up to the start. Once you start, it's basically depending on how far you've progressed through the bootcamp. And so, you know, if you drop out during the first week or so, you'll get most of the refund. And then as you move forward, you will get refunded all the way up to 50% of the bootcamp. So if you've before 50%, you'll get some refund. Once you've passed, taken more than 50%, then that's where there's no more refund. The cancellation policy is actually pretty explicit when you register, and you can actually check it out in any time as you are enrolled in the bootcamp.
I would just add that this refund policy is actually based on the state education board's refund policy, and actually our policy is more advantageous for students compared to actually what the minimum required by the state is.
Yeah, I think what I would add is that a lot of our students are much more excited about our retake and postponement policy, right, rather than our cancellation policy, because you know, we have a lot of students that just you know, have personal situations that come up, professional situations, sometimes positive. They get a new assignment, new job, they're too busy to continue, or they want to postpone. Sometimes, you know, it's a personal emergency. So we have a $99 one-time fee to postpone as far out as you want. You can postpone to the end of the year, or to retake. You can actually retake the complete bootcamp. So say you've gone through the first 3 classes, and then, you know, you pause, and then you're like, well, you know, I think I want to redo it again entirely. That's fine. It will only cost you $99. Once you pay that once, you want to retake it, postpone again. After that, it's actually free of charge. So you never pay that $99 again. And the best part is, as we're right now in very special circumstances, we waived that fee. So basically it is free of charge to retake or postpone at any point if for some reason you're not able to continue the bootcamp.
There's a few questions around job placement, internships, mock interviews, developer interview. Do you want to talk about that, or maybe?
Sure. Yeah, I'll kick it off. So we are very focused on giving you the skills that you need for your career. We do also provide some career support services. So in particular, we have an online course that will take you through the basics of, you know, your resume, preparing for interviews, networking, but it's an online course. We don't have dedicated staff to support the career services part. The reason really is we believe that it is going to come down to your skills. At the end of the day, when you're interviewing for a front end or full stack position, what is going to make the difference is the quality of your portfolio, what you're going to be able to show to that company. Even before the interview, it's going to be the tests that you're going to take and that will evaluate you. So we really focus on this. And again, not to say that we're not giving you some of the minimum requirements on career services, but we really strongly believe that it's skill-based first and foremost. And then, obviously another benefit of Nucamp is just the community. So you're going to be connecting with other students, of course, but also with instructors, and they are plugged in the ecosystem. Again, they're not teachers. They work in companies locally. So they're really a great resource for, tips on the companies, but also just on the whole hiring process. Many of them are actually hiring managers themselves. So they can help you out quite a bit as well with their personal experience.
Great. There's a question about accreditation in California. Yes, we are. That's that short clip life. You don't need to know that. I would just add also, because there's another question on jobs, that we actually very regularly receive job offers or job opportunities for graduates. And we have a special alumni channel where we share those opportunities. And I say often, it's almost every week, we actually have either a local company or global nationwide organization that's reaching out to offer jobs. So yes, there are jobs lined up in a way, actually shared and communicated with our alumni.
So question on, how much JavaScript do we need to know before joining the full stack program? And then, another question on, should we take the web development fundamentals first before signing up to the longer one?
Jeez, hold on.
So basically, again, to know which one to take first, go ahead and use the test. When it comes to JavaScript, again, it's going to be part of the test for you to figure out if you have enough JavaScript skills to enter the full stack. If you don't, then again, take the web fundamentals, where there's out of the 4 weeks, you'll have 2 weeks of JavaScript. So that will get you up to speed, basically, and prepared to take the full stack program when it comes specifically to JavaScript skills.
Sorry, I wasn't seeing that question. Let me just complement a little bit this answer. So out of the 4 weeks of HTML, out of the 4 weeks of the beginners bootcamp, 2 are on JavaScript. We have 2 weeks of JavaScript in Bootstrap as well. And then we start React with 1 week of JavaScript. So if you add it up, it's a total of 5 weeks spent on JavaScript alone. And React is just all pure JavaScript as well. So we feel good about the level of JavaScript that we have in the bootcamp. There is so much to learn that you will actually want to learn even more than what we cover. But right now, our level of, I would say, coverage of the knowledge of JavaScript prior to starting React is pretty solid.
Yeah, I just noticed I skipped David's question on how many instructors are there in the Eastern region. I don't know exactly in the Eastern regions, but I'll tell you we have about 200 instructors right now overall across the US. The fact that we're online actually is helpful because we can allocate instructors more easily. I want to take the opportunity here also to let you know that our instructors are constantly sort of monitored for performance. That's an important piece of our processes. We also help them get on board by having them go through observations of existing workshops for them to really get an understanding of what's expected. So we actually spend quite a bit of time on coaching of our instructors, monitoring performance. We have also a student success manager who reaches out to students and get some feedback, and we use that to constantly improve our instructor training program.
There's a question from P-Nice28. If I sign up for the beginner's course, how long afterwards will the next bootcamp be available? So there's actually just a week break between the end of your beginner's course to the front end of full stack. So you can really continue on. And that week break is a standard break that we have during the bootcamp as well, in between the modules.
Yeah, this one's for you as well, Ludo. Is Agile or Scrum taught in full stack?
Yeah, great one. So it's not. We really focus on the technical skills, not necessarily on the project management aspects of a development project. You will learn that typically in a project manager, program manager type of bootcamp. So we actually don't really touch on that. Although you'll experience managing your own project, I will say, during the bootcamp as you develop either on your own or with your peers.
Hey, Casey, I saw you got a 40%. That's okay. Don't sweat it. It's the whole purpose of the intro bootcamp is for anyone who is a complete beginner to come on board. So you already have a head start there. But also, really, if you want to spend, the next 2 weeks full-time working online with some other free resources to get up to speed with the basics and retake the test, you can absolutely do that as well. So we're not forcing anyone to go through web development fundamentals. We just want to make sure that you're ready to kick off the full stack with just the requirements there.
All right. A question around instructor help and how much instructors are available during the week to help us through challenging content. So they are absolutely available during the week. I'll say we have several levels of support during the week. Your instructor, first line of support, available through messaging. Typically, an instructor, as we mentioned, is full-time. So he or she will typically be available later during the day, in the evenings, to answer your questions, depending on that person's schedule. But we ask that the instructor is indeed available during the week. And typically, we have an SLA that asks that the instructor comes back to you under 4 hours for any question that you may have. That's very much the first level of support, I would say. The second level of support is your classmates. And this is really why we care so much about putting you in a real classroom environment, is because during the week, you'll have your classmates to help you. And what we see often is in any class, there are people who need more help and are more beginners than others. And so you'll see other students really stepping up as well and really creating that collegial or social learning dynamic. So that's the second level. The third level is you're actually one class out of many nationwide. So you're in a classroom of 12 students, but you're actually part of the broader Nucamp community. And so you have, I'll say, very frequently 100, 200 students that are going through the same things as you are at the same pace that you are. And so that's your broader community available on Slack that can also help you out. So don't worry about really the lack of support during the week, because there's actually a ton of support for you during the week. And then, of course, on the Saturday morning, you're with your instructor live 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
All right. So let's see here.
While you look, Ralph E is asking, can I register and take the test later? Yes. Our philosophy is that we trust you, that you're going to do it. You probably want to have a good chance of passing the test since you just registered. But if you realize that you made a mistake, as Karim mentioned, within 5 days, you get 100% refund. And then after 5 days of registering, we retain like a $30 fee or $100 fee if it's for the full stack. So that wouldn't be too bad.
All right. So are we planning to start a data science bootcamp? Not for now. And again, the reason is our primary focus is really to help people transition into web development and software as an industry. And then really our curriculum is designed for that. Data science is a little more specialized. So we feel it's perhaps not the easiest way to transition into the industry, but there are a lot of other offerings out there.
Cassie, you have a question regarding providing support for students who have learning disabilities. By experience, it will depend on the disability. If it's a motor function disability, and when we are in person, we have co-working space that actually have support for that. For other disabilities, it's really a case-by-case basis. We don't have translators, sorry, not translators, but we don't have people who could help necessarily with vision, hearing. That would be much tougher for us to offer support there. So,
but please reach out to us. Just send us an email at info@nucamp.co, or yeah, that's the easiest, I guess. And we'll connect, and we'll work with you to see what can be done, and if we can support the person for sure.
Yeah. And and I just read, maybe we read it wrong. It's learning disabilities. So again, it's really it will really be a case-by-case conversation and seeing how we can help.
So Dennis asking about the diplomas or certificate awarded. So yeah, there are certificates for all three boot camps. So there's a simpler certificate for the 4-week boot camp, but that's still an important thing to show an employer that you acquired some fundamental skills there. So you'll definitely have a certificate for that boot camp, as well as obviously for the advanced boot camps. And there are requirements to get the certificate. So the requirements are that you complete all the assignments with an average grade of 6 out of 10. So you need to have a passing grade on all your assignments. You can redo an assignment, so that's there's a little bit of flexibility in terms of working to complete. But that is what gives value to the certificate.
All right, and so since we're 4 minutes through, I think we're going to try to rapid fire answer the questions.
Sure.
So Raven asked, will the web development bootcamp prepare us for the front-end full stack? Absolutely, yes. That's the point really of it.
Okay, and then Makavi, I think actually I interacted with you. So shoot an email to info if you're already a student. But if you're behind on the fundamentals, I would suggest you try to muscle through and catch up. And if you still can't catch up, that's okay. It's very easy for you to retake the class. You can do that yourself online, or shoot us an email and we'll do that for you. Top
Brad is asking about if I take the fundamentals, but actually really want to also take front-end web development, what is the cost? It's the same cost. There is no bundle or discount for taking both. Cassie is asking about the benefits, aid, or discounts for veterans. We unfortunately do not have additional discounts except the early bird discount. We do have a payment plan available for actually everyone, where you pay your tuition monthly instead of in one installment.
So so question on the link for the web dev fundamental assessment. It's actually for the full stack. There's no assessment for starting web development fundamentals. You can be a total beginner, and that's perfectly fine. And the link is actually available on our website in our Q&A if you want, but it's also a little farther up in the chat window.
Sami is asking about the platform that we use to communicate with students and instructors. We have two. We have the learning platform, where a student in a class will communicate around assignments and things like that. There's a broader platform. We use Slack, indeed, where students interact with one another. And this is also where you have access to the nationwide community of students and instructors, not just your classroom.
All right, so Noosh is asking, is it more cost effective to sign up first for the basics than the other one? It's the same thing. So, you register separately, so it makes no difference cost-wise. And then the last question is a great ending question. And how's the job market affected post-COVID-19? The job market is a little too early to really know how it's affected on the development side. But the general trend is there are more things happening online. There are definitely, more services that are being delivered online to people that are stay at home. And there is definitely a huge trend with companies to rethink their own processes, rethink their business models to be more present online, to be prepared for the next time this happens. So I think the long-term prospects are definitely very positive for software development in general. And then I would add that, if If you've got time on your hand right now, it's a good time to put it at a good use and get trained and jump on this journey to learn to code. If you unfortunately have lost your job or in a difficult situation, we try to make it easy and affordable. So again, probably the right time to think about a career transition. And so, we hope to see many of you soon in one of our boot camps. We thank you for taking the time this morning. Don't remember not to miss the deadline of next Monday to get the early bird rate. And then if you want to help us help the social mission of just bringing affordable coding out there in the US, please like us on Facebook, share us on your favorite, subscribe to our channel, and talk to your friends and family about us. We'd love to help more people out there get a coding education. So thanks everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Take care. Bye-bye.